Welcome to our third live virtual conference series on the topic of the connected home. My name is Nancy Panu, and I'm thrilled to kick off this early fall session with you. We have many exciting activities throughout the fall with the IoT Consortium, including our podcast launching this fall, and our first summit, IoTC Next, which is launching on November 12th in New York City. For those of you who weren't able to join the previous webinars, this conference series started on August 28th and continued for 3 consecutive Wednesdays until next week, September 18th, as we've gathered together a brilliant group of industry experts facilitating our webinars each week with the objective of educating industry leaders, consumers, and IoT enthusiasts around various elements of the smart home technology. You, as participants, are able to ask questions and interact with our presenters in real time. So I highly encourage you to please type in your questions during the presentation in the QA box on the lower part of the screen. And our presenters will address as many questions as possible after their presentations live. If you have any questions afterwards, please send them to us at marketing@iothings.org, and we'll do our best to send them to our speakers to address. Today's session is focusing around a very interesting and recent topic, like the smart kitchen, and will be facilitated by 2 of our member companies, J.D. Power and the Whirlpool Corporation. I want to introduce you to our 2 presenters and very good friends within the IoT Consortium, Jason Matthew, who's the Senior Director of Global Connected Strategy at Whirlpool. He is responsible for both strategy and delivery across all categories, brands, and markets. Our second speaker is Ian Greenblatt, who leads J.D. Power's technology, media, and telecom intelligence, including a new IoT sub-practice. Ian drives market strategy across the entire communication sector. Their presentations will be considering the smart kitchen from a competitive landscape and consumer perspective. Their visions, strategic views, the drivers for customer satisfaction and brand satisfaction, and will also include use cases. We will start the session with Jason Matthew, and if you are ready to go, I would turn it over to you. Jason?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Jason Matthew. I'm sharing the presentation right now. Maybe Nancy, if you tell me when everyone can see it.
Yes, I'll let you know. Perfect, we can see it.
All right, as Nancy said, thank you for the introduction. Before I start, 2 things. Number 1, I'm from Detroit, so this is gonna be more of a straight talk discussion than TED Talk. And then the angle I'm gonna take is gonna be a little bit more consumer business oriented versus simply technology. In the 20 minutes that we have, as Nancy talked about doing as a company, our vision, our strategy, some notable actions, innovations, use cases that we're bringing to life. And obviously we got a few slides to help facilitate that discussion. First, starting off with the industry perspective. So the winners are winning bigger today, and the role of software is increasingly playing a larger role. And it's played out or playing itself out across many different categories, whether it's in auto, mobile, speakers, smart home. And technology is inescapable. And the kitchen is not immune from this megatrend. And so everyone is pursuing it. And you see just a couple notable headlines from a lot of what's going on from an industry standpoint. And I think the key takeaway is the competition isn't just coming from your traditional brands that are in the kitchen. They're coming from every angle and every dimension. From a consumer standpoint, today's consumer journey around food and how we prepare food in the kitchen is really littered with a lot of friction, questions, and pain points. If you think about those everyday questions like what's for dinner, it gets asked, on millions of basis kind of every month. If you think about, I don't know how to make something, I'm missing an ingredient, I don't want to go to the grocery store, I don't know what's inside my fridge, and I certainly feel guilty about those moments where we throw food out. These, along with several others, and I can go on, but I think you get the point around some of those everyday consumer pain points. And so there's a really significant divide between the experience consumers want and the one that we have today. And when we look at the consumer landscape, we kind of view cooking has become a little bit more of a spectator sport. On one hand, you have more people searching for food, posting for food, watching media tied to food than ever before. And on the other hand, the act of cooking itself has gone down considerably. And on a multi-decade trend, for the first time in 2017, there were more dollars spent out of home than in home. And there are a number of what we'll call single point solutions today, like a recipe app or a shopping app, that are helping consumers with some of these daily dilemmas. But we think there's an opportunity that's far greater than that. And essentially what's happening, given the consumer landscape, how big the industry is, what the consumer adoption is, the frequency of it, and frankly, the passion point around food, what's essentially happened is this really big food fight around what's going on around in-home versus out-of-home, delivery versus dine-in, cooking versus not cooking. And so based on the above, this is why an industry-wide effort, I would say beyond the traditional borders, are very focused on how does software and food tech really get into the kitchen. And from a Whirlpool perspective, we have a very clear view of where we want to go, what we want to do. And we've been involved in some of the biggest innovations in the home over the last several decades. But where we've been is not where we're headed. And the role we play will no longer begin at preheating the oven. And to oversimplify, for 100 years, Whirlpool has been selling boxes that spin water to clean, boxes that get hot to cook, boxes that get cold for food preservation. And we think those are important, and we firmly believe we do that better than anyone else. But that is essentially performing tasks, and that falls well short of our potential. We believe those everyday acts of care, whether it's in cooking or cleaning, will always be easier, better, faster with our brands. And we think there's some magical opportunities that we're going to unlock through the combination of product, digital, connected, IoT, ecosystems, and things like AI. And so it's a pretty big transition from where we've been to where we're headed, but a little bit more about what does redefined product really look from our perspective. You know, our vision for the connected kitchen is one where there is a seamless end-to-end experience across 5 key benefit territories. First, starting off with that everyday question around what's for dinner, that's kind of in the 12 o'clock position. Then how do we offer step-by-step guidance to take you turn by turn, step by step, almost like a GPS in the kitchen to give you that guidance and control that you're looking for. The third benefit territory, which is meal cook, is like, how do we create this Tesla-like experience where you can get closer to press play and walk away? How do we reduce both the physical and the mental load associated with cooking? The fourth one is food purchase. It's just how do we drive easier, more convenient ways to drive replenishment of groceries? And then the fifth one, food storage. It's like, what do I have in my home? What's in my fridge? What's in my pantry? And what can I do with it? And again, there's a lot of single point solutions that are attacking this, but no one has really thread this whole experience end to end across every one of these benefit territories. And if you see in the middle is Yumly. And Yumly is a company that Whirlpool acquired in 2017. They are going to be essentially the operating system for the kitchen and essentially bring together all the different experiences from digital to product to services to ecosystem, and allow us to do this in a way where we're delivering a harmonized consumer experience. And so when we acquired Yumly 2 years ago, had roughly 20 million users at the time of that acquisition. It's been phenomenal growth. We're frankly well over 28 million users as of today, and we're growing by over 20,000 users per day. On the platform, today we have roughly 2 million recipes. You see a little bit of an example on the comp on the left. It does an incredible job of personalizing recipes. It does an incredible job of curating based on your needs, your allergies, your diets. And it also has the ability to do shopping, integrations with a number of different food retailers. It's been recognized by Apple as one of the essential apps. It's been recognized by Webby 3 years in a row for best in food and drink. We've got a team that's incredibly talented that's helping bring our vision to life. But if you think about the combination of Yummly plus Whirlpool, the #1 in meal discovery, the #1 in appliances in the kitchen, we believe we could be first to market delivering this experience and this vision at scale. And we're frankly already doing that. We have roughly 30 million users with over 50 connected products in the kitchen today that have already logged over 100 million visits to Yummly, over 4 million cooking sessions. And with that knowledge, we're doing a number of things to make the user experience better. And we're not just talking about things conceptually, we've put form. We've launched use cases across a number of different opportunities to kind of help the consumer with convenience, with control, with inspiration. Whether you're looking to cook with a recipe or you're just looking to cook something like a frozen meal. A couple examples that you see on this slide. I'll start all the way on the right. We're in market today. Yummly's always been a recipe app. It's growing into something more than that. But today in market, you could take Yummly recipes with step-by-step guidance that seamlessly integrate with Whirlpool smart appliances. If the recipe calls for time, temperature, preheat, cooking method of X, Y, or Z, you no longer need to walk over to the oven and interact. It will seamlessly beam that information over into the product. And that's, again, in market today. In the middle, not everyone's always cooking based on a recipe. We offer more convenient ways to actually cook with more precision and control based on the preferences that you have. So let's say you like your steak medium rare. Tell us what your preferences are, and we'll be able to automatically drive and take some of the guesswork out of cooking. On the other hand, if it's Tuesday night and you got 4 kids at home that are screaming for food and you have like 15 minutes to cook, an example of where we make that experience easier and faster is a feature called Scan to Cook. In this example that we're highlighting here, you could take a picture of the DiGiorno Sforza Pizza package. We've automatically digitized the back of the instructions in a digital way, and we're basically able to offer more convenient ways to cook that. And by the way, we actually improve the overall speed to meal by 30%. And really the effort that we've gone through here is to really integrate the combination of hardware, software, content, culinary science, all kind of come together for the benefit of the user. There's a number of elements that you'll never see, but you'll certainly experience as you start to use some of these use cases. We think some of these innovations will kind of define the category for years to come. And we're really excited about what we've launched. And there's also some examples where we've actually tried to help answer that question, what can I cook based on what I have? And this example that we're highlighting here, we kind of launched right after CES. It's an awesome way where we're using technology with no barriers to kind of purchase or scale. You simply use the Yummly app. You can grab a few things out of the fridge, lay them on a countertop, use the Yummly app. It will identify what was found, and then it will curate recipes based on your preferences, your likes, your dislikes, etc. In the example that you're seeing here, you could actually use it to wave it over the front of the fridge. It does an incredible job doing accuracy, recognizes multiple ingredients simultaneously. And when we integrate cameras in our fridge, we're actually going to be in a position to do that with much greater accuracy and precision and pursuing kind of that data acquisition at scale because of the approach that we're taking. Beyond kind of AI and machine learning, kind of the insertion of content, IoT, culinary science also plays a critical role. And my favorite feature that we just launched in July is kind of this game-changing experience that brings a Peloton-style experience into the kitchen with Yummly Pro. You know, much like bringing kind of the cycling studio into the home with an incredible instructor that Peloton does today that allows you to push yourself a little bit further, go a little bit faster. We want that same inspiration, that same feeling, that same experience to occur in cooking in the home. And what we're doing is we're bringing incredible chefs, incredible content to recreate that type of experience in the home. And it feels like you're cooking with accredited leading chefs like Richard Blais, Andrew Zimmer, Jet Tila, and it allows you to kind of push the inspiration side. If you want to expand your palate, if you want to improve your cooking technique, you get incredible step-by-step guidance, and it's going to help you create something that perhaps you wouldn't have tried on your own, but certainly allow you to have what we'll call an Instagram-worthy meal. And so Yumly Pro is the latest solution that we're building to kind of address need states that go from convenience to inspiration. And so those are just some things that are just highlighting what we're doing in market. There's a number of key innovations that we'll be launching in the next couple months, but the combination of Whirlpool and Yumly are really focused on how do we make and redefine the overall cooking experience where we deliver easier, better, and faster results for the consumer. And that's really what's motivating us. Everything that we do kind of traces back to that position that we're going after. And we believe that this is something that's long lasting. It's not kind of centered on a use case. And it, for us, is like motivating a lot and measuring the performance of what we're doing. Now, everything that I talked about doesn't happen on a standalone basis. We're building a smart kitchen ecosystem of leading and trusted brands. So whether it's the #1 in meal discovery, some of the top companies in CPG, the leading retailers of where you can replenish and buy groceries from, the leading appliance brands, the leading companies in the smart home. This is all kind of a cohesive experience that we're delivering. And again, we're not doing this alone. And that's an important part of what we're doing as a company. You know, I've kind of said this before, this is a competitive landscape. This is an area that a lot of activity, attention is kind of moving into right now. And we believe that we're really well positioned on several of the characteristics that will define the winners. From trusted brands like Yumly, Whirlpool, and KitchenAid, to large user install bases that will help with data and network effects, to technology and data that's powering kind of every layer of the consumer experience, to unmatched scale from a product standpoint. You know, we're uniquely positioned in that we don't just sell cooking products like an oven. We go all the way from cookware to the stand mixers to the refrigerators to cooking products, and that allows us to have both breadth, depth, and scale that we think is unmatched. And so we feel good about how we're positioned. You know, there's a lot of talk about the smart home. And we believe the kitchen, and I think this is not really debatable, the kitchen is the heart of the home. It is our natural ecosystem. It's the footprint in the home that we cherish, we know, and we're planning on continuing to lead. We know there's been several future visions of the kitchen that have frankly failed. And they've all happened over the course of many decades. What we feel like is different about this time is the combination of technology, the consumer's attitudes, their interest, kind of the whole digital transformation, kind of lowered the barriers to market and consumer adoption. And we feel like the next few years are going to change quite a bit, and they're already rapidly occurring as we speak right now. I also view a little bit of what we shared strategically in our vision as a commodity. I don't think that what we're trying to pursue is that unique from a lot of other companies. We think our angle of pursuit, we think the approach that we're taking, we think the advantages that we have are long lasting, but we really think that execution is going to separate the winners from the losers. And we really feel good about where we're positioned in how we're going to win and compete in that new environment. I mean, Whirlpool's a company that's got over 100 years of history, but we're digitally young at heart. And like every story, there's a beginning, a middle, and the end. And we feel like we're just beginning that next chapter of our company. These are exciting times for us, the consumer, and we're looking forward to sharing more in the future around what are we doing, where we're headed. But hopefully this gave you some perspective of how we view the landscape, what are we doing, some notable examples. Look forward to any questions that come up towards the end. So I appreciate your time. And with that, I'll turn it over to Nancy and Ian.
Thank you so much for that success story. It's good to see what a company with more than 100 years experience has to say about the future of the kitchen. Now I will give over the word to Ian Greenblatt from JD Power.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Ian Greenblatt. I lead the technology, media, and telecom practice at JD Power. I'm not seeing the slide deck, Nancy. Can you see that?
No, I can see you.
Nobody wants to see that. Let's make sure we've got this right. Screen sharing is pause, resume, share. Apologies, folks. I'm not quite sure why it's not sharing, but it will. Shows that we should be working now, Nancy.
It's still a black screen. Jason, did you stop sharing? Oh, there it is, but we see the presentation mode.
Okay, you should be able to see it now. I've switched it so that it should be full screen. Are you seeing full screen?
We don't see the full screen, we see the presentation mode. You could, oh, now we see the full screen. Now it's
pause and restart, that's all. Okay, let's try that one again. Hi, folks. I'm still Ian Greenblatt. I still lead the Technology, Media, and Telecom Intelligence Group at JD Power. We cover, well, it's right there in the title. We've technology companies like Microsoft, Amazon, media companies like all the broadcast entities like multiple network operators like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, etc. Today, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the smart kitchen and continue on the excellent exposition that Jason just gave us. And Jason, by the way, I'm one of your 28 million users of Yumly. It keeps me from diving through the garbage to go read the directions over and over again. So thank you for that. Let's see, why is that not working? Okay, so while we have a very well-known brand in the United States, I think we may have some international participants. And so let me take 2 seconds to talk a little bit about JD Power. We field studies in 19 countries. We're 51 years old, founded in 1968, with Dave Power sitting around his kitchen table. The kitchen is the heart of the home, with his family taping quarters to postcards and sending them to new car buyers in order to get the voice of the customer and present that with custom analysis to the auto manufacturers. We have over 1,000 global clients. We survey more than 5 million consumers a year. This number is actually low. We have, I think it's 176 annual benchmark surveys every year in 31 languages. And back in the office, we have over 850 staffers, including PhDs, data scientists, consumer insight analysts, statisticians, all, again, bringing the voice of the customer to the companies that serve them. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the kitchen and buying a kitchen appliance is a big deal. The way a consumer feels about their kitchen and how the appliances fill it has that impact on how satisfied a customer is with that appliance. In our recently published 2019 Kitchen Appliance Satisfaction Study, we found that compared to 2018, more customers are purchasing appliances that are life-proof, fingerprint resistant, scratch resistant. Of the companies that don't purchase their appliance in a bundled package from a retailer, between 50 and 69% purchase their appliance to match their existing appliances, and that includes the brand as well. Over the range, you'll see OTR, RCO used throughout this presentation. OTR means over the range, RCO means range, cooktop, or oven. OTR microwaves are the most frequently purchased to match an existing appliance. So if you have a Whirlpool stove, you will likely buy a Whirlpool microwave. Customers who purchase appliances to match those other appliances are ultimately more satisfied with their appliance and have a higher likelihood of recommending their appliance brand to families and friends, and we'll talk about that in a moment. We found, and the overarching principle of this year's study was that performance and reliability are the biggest drivers of appliance satisfaction. It has to do the job. Durability and effectiveness are critical. If it can't do the task required, then the value of the customer is obviously greatly diminished. no one wants to tell the four kids waiting for dinner in 15 minutes, as Jason pointed out in the fact pattern. No one wants to tell them that they can't have the pizza they were expecting because the toaster oven or microwave or over the range microwave didn't work. Appliance manufacturers who can do this, who can offer that right combination of design appeal, effectiveness, reliability, and performance, will absolutely win the space. Now, that said, innovation is critical, and that's what we're going to talk about in the smart kitchen. So a few key statistics that I want to go through. The smart home device market size in 2018 was estimated to be around $10.5 billion. By 2022, the forecast is to exceed $33 billion. So it's not small potatoes. Consumer electronics were the largest category in 2018, and it's going to remain that way through 2022. Now, the great part is for Jason and company that the largest category of smart home devices are smart speakers, and more importantly, major home appliances. Smart speakers and displays also trended up in 2018. Will continue with larger and more capable devices in the home, most notably in the kitchen, like the refrigerator you see on the left with a panel, or smart kitchen hubs, tying it all together. And satisfaction, as we found across other studies we do, it's higher among customers who have smart or connected home features. For example, if you have a home alarm system, the more features, the more smart home devices you can connect through it, like an August lock or a camera, the satisfaction is greatly improved. And so the key takeaway is kitchens are getting smarter, and that means customers will be increasingly satisfied by their smart kitchen appliances. I also wanted to point out where the kitchen appliance realm benchmarks amongst other studies. It's very high. Satisfaction with major appliances and appliance retailers is very high. As you can see, I'll put a mouse up here, the RCO, range cooktop, oven, dishwasher, microwave, and refrigerator all rate very, very highly amongst other studies. And I want to put this all into perspective, right? What is an 868? What does it mean? Here's another way of looking at it. Home buyer, when you're buying a home, this is such a massive investment that you want to be pretty satisfied with the person who helps you buy that house. So they lead very highly. But look at where appliance retailer lives. It's all the way up at the top of the overall satisfaction index scores. And down at the bottom is usually the pipes and wires that come to your home, water utility, electric utility, television service, gas utility. Folks are usually less satisfied with that. Again, a little more perspective, that 848 translates, and I know some folks are particularly keen on Net Promoter Score. That's a Bain & Company metric indicating whether or not a customer is likely to promote a brand to friends and family, where 9s and 10s are promoters, extremely likely to promote, and 0 to 6 are detractors. Now, of course, the difference is promoters tell their friends and family, and they're passionate about it. Detractors don't just tell their friends and family, they tell everyone. And so it's really, it works very well to the benefit of a brand to move a detractor into passive, so they just don't do anything, and moving passives to promoters. So an 848, tremendous J.D. Power score on the customer satisfaction index, equates to around 45 NPS, which is an enormous number. Let's take a look why, right? At 45, that puts you in the Netflix category, where folks are super passionate about brands like Consumer Cellular, Costco, Quicken Loans, Amazon, Apple, very, very positive. And to the other extreme, remember we talked about pipes and wires, Frontier, Mediacom, sort of at the bottom with this NPS metric, Facebook recently low. What's not shown on here is, for example, LaGuardia Airport, which rolls in at a -12 on NPS. But I wanted to put it into perspective to show that the consuming public is very satisfied so far with the appliances they buy and the brands they buy them from. So let's talk a little bit about the shopping experience in the smart home. The majority of those customers use both brick and mortar and digital research to aid in appliance selection. So that means they go online, they research. They also go to a store and they want to feel, touch, see the device. This isn't uncommon. This happens also in telecommunications. We see this with cell phones. Many folks buy online, but they have still gone to a store in order to hold it, put it in their pocket, see if it fits, interact with the OS. So very, very similar. Range cooktop oven customers have a higher likelihood of seeking recommendations from friends and family and professionals than other kitchen appliance customers. But asking friends and family and professionals about their recommendations for kitchen appliances is generally less common. Buyers go to a brick and mortar outlet to touch it, feel it, enjoy it, and then head to Amazon or the like, or brand websites and purchase. So here we talked about types of websites. The retailer websites receive the most traffic, followed by manufacturer websites, and then online-only merchants. 9 in 10 of customers who shop online visit those retailer websites. Online-only merchants are more popular among smaller dollar amount devices like microwaves. So let's take a look at the shopper profile, digital shoppers versus non-digital shoppers. Customers who research online are a little different than those who don't, and the trend is consistent across each appliance type. We said dishwasher, refrigerator, OTR, or RCO. Online shoppers are a little more cautious. They purchase on the first visit less often, shopping for longer periods of time online, just to make sure they get the right deal. Online shoppers will also say they are less likely to say they definitely will repurchase the same brand next time they are in the market for a major appliance, but generally intend to recommend their brand at a similar rate as non-digital shoppers. Here we talk a little bit about the time spent shopping. The average shopping cycle has decreased year over year, and a third of the customers buy their appliance within a day of starting to shop. So you need it. Now, one would imagine that you can't really go without your dryer, you can't really go without your refrigerator, you can't really go without your oven. So thinking about the type of appliance that we're talking about here tends to shorten the buying cycle. More than half of the appliance customers have a preferred brand in mind when they begin shopping. Now, recall at the top of our discussion, we said that it's more likely that they will buy from the same brand if they already have existing appliances, and this is the backup for that. Regardless of how long the customer shopping cycle is, it's pretty common for customers to have a preferred brand and to pursue it. As customers extend the buying cycle, though, their chances of purchasing a brand other than their preferred brand generally goes up. And the percentage of customers who have a preferred brand and purchase that brand increases slightly year over year, except for microwaves, which has been flat. So we're going to talk a little bit about factor performances with dishwasher, RCO, and microwave, because I wanted to show that these longer lines means that there's, we'll get to it in a sec. The satisfaction with dishwashers, average improvement of 6 index points year over year is a result of improvement on all of the factors, not just one. Ease of use is the only factor which had a significant year over year factor. You see that right here. It's a big jump. In general, dishwasher customers are least satisfied with price, followed by warranty. If it breaks, I want you to fix it. I don't want to pay for it. And when I pay for it, I want it to be in the reasonable realm. Please don't punish me for cleaning my dishes. Price and ease of use have the smallest range between highest and lowest. And the reason I point that out is that it's that differentiation we're going to come back to. There's very little differentiation among competitors in these spaces. And so we'll come back to that. Satisfaction is highest among French door refrigerators, so of the various kinds. And so versus side-by-side French door, top mount freezer, or two-door. The form factor is most compatible with additional smart features. French door is, indicating that the market is accepting of smart refrigerators with displays, for example, because that's the ideal form factor for putting a display on it. Over-the-range microwaves has declined in satisfaction across 5 of the 6 factors, except for price, which we said before, which was flat. The range of scores for microwaves, where the majority of factors is smaller than what was experienced for dishwasher. What we were talking about, why I pointed that out, is the range here, the size of these bars. The range here shows that there's very, very little differentiation between brands versus, if we went back, you'll see the larger differentiation in refrigerators and larger differentiation in dishwashers. And then finally, in the range cooktop oven realm, very little differentiation as well, or at least those perceived by customers. And please recall that J.D. Power surveys are the voice of the customer. These are perception-based surveys, and this is what consumers report about their own experiences. Now, the cooktops here decline in two factors: styling, appearance, and features, while remaining relatively flat in performance and reliability and ease of use. And as we recall, the most important factors were performance, reliability, and price. And so if that remains flat, their opportunity to gain in the index is pretty slim. So just taking a quick left turn here, what we tell brands is, and we survey brands across industry, across the globe, that if you want to stay close to your customers, if you want to succeed in customer satisfaction, behave like top brands. Some of those top brands are Delta, with very well-defined vision, values, and a brand promise that they hold above all other things. Ritz-Carlton, culture that puts their customers and employees first, and there are many urban legends about the customer service level at Ritz-Carlton. You can go to Snopes to disprove a few of them, but I am an enormous fan of the level and of accountability and ability to put the customer first that their organization puts in the hands of employees, from the fellow who opens the door for you all the way up to the GM. Enterprise Rent-A-Car has a very clearly defined customer experience. They'll pick you up. And finally, Quicken Loans, they have these Quickenisms, and they're obsessed with finding a better way. Their mindset of continuous improvement is absolutely key to finding customer satisfaction, because the status quo does not satisfy the following year. Continuous improvement is necessary. So a few things to consider about the smarter kitchen in the smart home in the year to come. Appliance manufacturers and brands enjoy high satisfaction and trust, but these can be injured with poor pricing or questionable reliability. We see big plummets in satisfaction where that occurs. And customers will seek those products at both retail and online, as well as asking friends and family, and reward those retailers and brands with a higher satisfaction and NPS scores. We mentioned that differentiation is key to success. Breakouts in both small appliances like microwave and large appliances like RCO are possible with superb experiences driven by innovative features and related services, not unlike Yumly. And the better the customer service experience, the higher the likelihood to recommend. That we talked about that around NPS. Satisfaction is tied directly to the bottom line health, right? Satisfied customers are loyal customers. Loyal customers are brand loyal as well, and they continue to return and buy. And with that, I'll take a breath and we can move to Q&A. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. And thank you, Nancy and the IoTC, for having us.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Jason. I want to remind everyone that they can type in their Q&A at the lower part of the screen by clicking on it and typing in the questions. I have a question that came in from one of our listeners on the phone, which is saying most people won't buy a suite or smart appliance all at once. Consumers buy individual appliances, small and large, and each one will come with a different app or platform or connectivity method. There is a fear that the multiple options for finding and storing recipes, controlling your Wi-Fi connected appliances, and keeping your shopping list will paralyze us into just doing nothing. How can brands work together on making the smart kitchen easier to control rather than the contrary?
Wow, that was some question. There's a lot there. How do brands work together? Actually, Jason is keenly focused on this. His partnership slide would be one to talk about in great answer to this, and setting standards and being able to have perhaps open API that would allow a variety of manufacturers' applications to be used across the spectrum.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I mean, I think the question that was asked is spot on. I think it is an absolute watch out and a barrier to consumer adoption. And is part of the reason that underpinned the whole Yumly acquisition, because we didn't want to have a consumer have to deal with a multi-branded suite where you hypothetically have a Whirlpool range, a Maytag dishwasher, a KitchenAid stand mixer, and then a different branded, refrigerator, and have to open and close apps in a repeated way. So we think about the whole act of cooking from end to end, and frankly, everything you need to do, you could do within Yumly and not have to deal with the multi-branded app experience. Conversely, on the content and shopping side, the ecosystem that we're creating, for example, in shopping, will allow you to choose where you want to go. So we're not limited to one channel. We're not limited to even one service. So think Instacart or Shipt. We have several different ways where you can shop. Frankly, we have roughly 90% market coverage currently in kind of our ecosystem across the largest players down to service opportunities like Instacart and Shipt. So we feel like we're addressing that spot on. So I would just recommend you give Yumly a try and see what that looks like. But that is front and center. That's kind of motivating our thinking. And I think our actions are backing that one up.
Nancy, I did want to address one thing, right? The premise of the question was that users don't buy suites of appliances. And I think we just went through that. In fact, that's not necessarily the case. They may not buy them all in the same moment, but users do prefer appliances from the same brand. Our research showed that.
Thank you both for answering that question. I have another question that came in from Ken Dixon. What smart appliance types are most popular right now and why?
And you want to take that one?
I was going to say, Jason, I think that's all you.
I'd be selfish in this one, but honestly, from our vantage point, we think the best consumer use cases we see largely reside within cooking and laundry. I think some of the challenges around other categories, and I'll just pick on one like dishwashers, there's a lot of good use cases that can come with that, but some of the safety regulatory challenges will not allow for a frictionless experience. And so we have to go through a number of different dimensions before we get to that ideal consumer experience. And it's not tied to just tech. It's tied to the tech plus regulatory plus safety. And then just as an example in dish, the ability to remotely control a dishwasher, may be interesting to some folks, but if you did buy a connected dishwasher today, kind of agnostic of what brand you buy it from, kind of the regulatory arms will not allow you to just click a button and send a function to the appliance. You literally have to then walk over to the product and then hit remote enable in order for that action to occur, which kind of defeats the purpose. And so there's a lot of promise across, I think, all appliances, but I think some right now are a little bit more mature than others. Ian, anything else to add?
I don't have much to add. I think you've hit it right on the nose. It's more about the use case than it is about the actual appliance type. Consumers are eager to find features that make their lives easier, right? So very frequently, your laundry, for example, isn't centrally located in your home. It might be in a basement. It might be on a bedroom floor. If I'm able to get a quick notification on my watch or on my phone that the dryer load is done, or the wash is done rather, I'll remember to go switch it over, as opposed to having it get funky smelling in the washer because I forgot to switch it over. It's those features that consumers are really seeking.
Thank you. We have a question from Pete Suika saying, are consumers more likely to replace functioning appliances to upgrade to connected devices?
Right, now that's one I'll take. That's the next sentence from what I was saying before, so that's perfect. Again, those features that they're in search of tend to wait, because buying cycles for a dryer pretty long, right? That can be 6 to 8 years. And so the reason that you don't necessarily just say, wow, I can do my drying, my wash on my phone. I can keep track of my phone. It will be a feature that you seek in the buying process, but it is unlikely, based on the price point of the larger appliances like refrigerator, RCO, and laundry, that a consumer will purchase out of cycle simply to get that. Now, of course, there are crazy first adopters like me who will do silly things like that, but I understand that I am the outlier in the use case.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian, for answering that question. Anything to add, Jason?
No, I think Ian nailed it.
Great.
Noted results.
Very good. We have a question from an anonymous attendee asking if he would be able to contact Jason regarding the smart kitchen and the content he presented today, and if there's a way to contact you after the session. If you want, you could send us your email, and we will reach out and answer that question outside of that session. Another question that came in from another follow-up question from Pete Sweeker is, does energy management participate in the appliance discussion?
I'll take that one. The answer is yes, the short answer. We today already have use cases where the product is doing more than just doing laundry and drying clothes. It's ordering detergent or saving money on energy. And so we have the ability to respond to peak demand times and maybe delay a cycle as a function of that. And so energy related use cases do exist. We think they're most relevant in categories like laundry, and perhaps even dishwashers. Your refrigerator is always running 24/7 a day. So that's really not an opportunity to drive bending the curve on energy consumption. And I'm not sure that consumer behavior is going to massively adjust in cooking to save a nickel or a quarter in savings. But I do think in laundry and in dishwashing, so we'll call it the wet products, there is a clear opportunity, and we're already integrated and have that use case in market today.
Thank you very much. I have another question, if we still have time, from an anonymous attendee. Many consumers are looking for products that comply with sustainable practices. Is there any information out there on this in reference to sustainable practices?
Again, I think Jason is right on for this one.
Yeah, so we publish every year. In fact, a couple quarters ago, we just published a document that kind of discloses all the things that we're doing, the measures that we take, the actions that we're underway on, in what position do we want to be a few years from now. So I would encourage you to just visit whirlpoolcorp.com. There's a document in there under sustainability. All the data is actually published. It's public. We take it very serious, and we're working on that right now.
Thank you. Follow-up question from Ken Dixon. Aside from consumer benefits, which benefits do appliance makers achieve from the devices being connected? I assume remote diagnostics and use analysis are among these. What else?
Ooh, I'd like to take this one. So actually, Jason and I differ opinion a little bit on this one. I am keen to see those devices connected with low bandwidth IoT networks like NB-IoT and LTE-M or CAT-M, and the ability to, by the way, Kent rightly talks about remote diagnostics. It's that predictive maintenance cycle that is so valuable to both the consumer, right? Your dishwasher is about to break. Your refrigerator pump, it requires service. Before it breaks, you should call your local retailer to send someone out. Otherwise, you will lose all your food. So there's a predictive maintenance element to it that will vastly enhance satisfaction. Because remember, what we talk about, price and reliability are big in satisfaction, and reliability, capital R. When any of these devices go down, satisfaction plummets. With the ability to talk to the mothership, as it were, that reliability score goes way up.
Thank you. Jason, I have a question that is there for you. I know that you're short on time, so I will do it right now. From Kem Hosen. In the world of Airbnb, do you have software platforms that would let the homeowner lock or unlock Whirlpool ovens for a guest?
I mean, I think the broader question just relates to how does a consumer who doesn't own the product interact with the connected product?
Correct.
And the experiences that we're creating and the platform that we're delivering does in fact do that. If you think about things that we have today in our commercial business, where a consumer in the commercial laundry business, it's a consumer interacting with an appliance, and instead of paying with quarters, they're not paying with Bitcoin, but they are paying with other forms of auto payment. We build for home builders that are in rental markets that, you know, are building full suites and apartments of connected products, and we need the ability to reset, we'll call it old user to new user. So we've thought about that. Is it specific to Airbnb today? No, but are we thinking about that architecture and enabling us to do that? The answer is absolutely.
Thank you. Well, the questions are flying in. We have another one from one of our listeners on the phone. What objectives do companies have of increasing elderly and disabled people's autonomy in carrying out their everyday activities in the kitchen?
Outstanding. So, smart home as a service, keenly focused on elder care, elder safety, ease of use, continued autonomy. Now that's again, creating a platform that makes it very easy, consistent, and recall that these are not digital natives, right? These are folks that have come to it over their lifetime. And so some of the smart features can be somewhat daunting, right? Smart home as a service is a concept where being able to have a platform that interacts with and acts on behalf of the consumer in order to, let's say, cook a pizza, or let's say get your wash done, are absolutely a keen focus for brand manufacturers.
Thank you very much. Jason, how are we running on time? Are you still on for one more question I could address to you both, or?
I got time for one more question.
Okay, great. Will all these new connected devices coming to market, with all these new connected devices coming to market, how important is it to the consumer to consolidate all the apps in one app?
I mean, I'll take a stab at this one. I mean, number one, we're going to provide choices for a consumer. So if you're thinking about eating, what's for dinner, how do I make it, and you want step-by-step guidance, you can go to Yumleaf for that. If you really want to interact with our product through a branded app, you'll also have that choice. So we believe it's important to reduce the number of friction points and interaction points as much as possible. And again, if we're trying to make things easier and better and faster, we think a lot of apps is going to drive a lot of app fatigue. On the other hand, it's about giving consumers choice. And if they really want to open up the Maytag app to interact with the Maytag dishwasher, they'll have that choice.
Perfect. Perfect. I think there is another question that could be directed to both of you, but I'll send them over to you so Jason doesn't keep running, because he's currently at another conference, and he gave us the honor to join today along with Ian, and we're very happy about it. The rest of the questions will be sent to you, and the ones we can respond to, we will obviously, but we will direct them to you as well, in case you can find the time to respond to them. I want to thank you both for the time you brought in, for the experience, for your thoughts and your visions around the connected kitchen. I was at IFA last weekend, and I've seen that it's a very, very recent and hot topic everyone's talking about, but everyone's doing something different. Hearing that from experienced companies such as yours is an honor, and we thank you very much for your time and everything you did. If anyone has any additional questions, you can send them to marketing@ioftthings.org. And we are happy to see you at our next webinar session next week. If you're registered, you will get an invitation to this, and if you can make it, we will be very happy. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Jason, and have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.